Have you ever wondered if there's way more to ancient stories than what we see on the surface? Today, we're going to dive into how these tales aren't just bits of history. They're actually super sophisticated tools designed to engineer the way you think.
You know that feeling, right? You're at a party, maybe, and you're listening to two people talk, and you get this weird sense that there's a whole other conversation going on, a meta-conversation that you're just not picking up on. They're using normal words, but they nod at certain phrases, and it feels like there's all this extra meaning packed inside. And what's our first instinct? We get a little defensive. We feel kind of left out, like they're in some secret club. But what if it's not about them hiding something from us? What if the real issue is that we just haven't developed the capacity to see what's right there in plain sight?
And this is where this really crucial idea comes into play: interpretive capacity. Think of it like a mental muscle. It's the ability to see patterns, to get metaphors, and to find that deeper structure that's hiding just beneath the literal surface of a story or a conversation.
It is exactly like one of those old Magic Eye posters from the 90s. You remember those? The hidden 3D image, the spaceship or whatever, it's right there in the dots. But if you don't know the trick, how to relax your eyes and change your focus, all you're ever going to see is static. The secret isn't being kept from you on purpose. It's just that you haven't learned how to look at it the right way yet.
So, to make this idea really solid, let's take a look at one of the most famous stories ever told. We're going to stop looking at the story of Cain and Abel like it's some ancient crime scene and start seeing it for what it really might be: a powerful allegory for what's happening inside your own mind.
We all know the basic story, right? Two brothers, some jealousy, a rock, and bam, the first murder. And yeah, it's usually taught as a simple moral tale about not being envious. But what if that's just the first layer? What if the real drama, the real war, is entirely psychological? So here's how we can break down their symbolic roles. You've got Cain, the farmer, the builder. He represents the material part of us, the part that's always asking, what does this thing do? It's all about function, control, the literal surface. Then you have Abel, the shepherd. He represents our interpretive capacity, that other part of us, the part that looks at the same thing and asks, yeah, but what does it mean?
So if we keep that framework in mind, let's go back to the main event of the story. The act of Cain killing Abel. Well, maybe it's not just about one guy murdering another.
And this is the punchline. It's an allegory for a psychological event that happens in all of us. When our obsession with control, with data, with pure literalism, when our inner Cain becomes totally dominant, it actually kills our ability to see poetry, to see symbolism, to see any kind of deeper meaning. It kills our inner Abel.
Okay, I know this idea of layered meaning can feel a little bit abstract, so let's use a perfect modern-day Rosetta Stone to really understand it: the story of Santa Claus.
Come on, we have all lived through these three levels. First, you're a child, and your belief is completely literal. A magic man brings you presents. Then you grow up a little. You become the cynic. You find out the truth on a material level. It's a lie. It's just your parents and their money. But then, if you keep growing, you reach the third, adult level, the symbolic understanding that it's all about participating in a shared spirit of generosity.
And this is the absolute key. The story of Santa Claus stays exactly the same. The words don't change. What changes is us. Our capacity to understand it evolves. The story is literally designed to unfold as our perception matures. And guess what? Ancient myths are built in the exact same way. Now, this brings up a huge question, right? If these stories are so amazing and profound, why do the traditions that hold them always feel so secretive, so mystical? I mean, if you have this incredible way of seeing the world, why wouldn't you just shout it from the rooftops?
Well, it really comes down to this fundamental mismatch in perspective. From the inside, these groups saw themselves as custodians, as librarians. Their job wasn't to hide the knowledge, but to preserve a very delicate way of thinking. But from the outside, to someone with that literal Cain-only mindset, it just looks like a secret club full of conspirators who don't want to let you in.
This gap actually has a name. It's called interpretive asymmetry. It's what happens when someone is communicating on multiple layers at once, both literal and symbolic, but the person listening can only hear the literal surface meaning. You're speaking poetry, but all they're hearing is prose, and they probably think you're being confusing or, worse, deceptive.
And this just completely reframes the whole idea of mysticism, doesn't it? It's not some magic superpower. It's a literacy. It's a skill you develop. To me, a page of sheet music just looks like a bunch of random dots on lines. But to a trained musician, it's a whole symphony. The composer isn't hiding the song from me. I just never learned the language.
And all of this brings us to the final and, honestly, maybe the most profound idea of all, that the ultimate secret isn't about hidden knowledge. It's about personal maturation.
There's this concept called developmental opacity, and it basically argues that certain truths aren't locked away in a vault somewhere, they're not being kept from us, they are simply ahead of us on the path, just waiting for us to grow into the life experience we need to finally understand them.
I mean, think about it. Adulthood is a complete secret to a child. And it's not because adults are trying to hide it, it's because the kid just doesn't have the context to get it. You absolutely cannot explain the feeling of being 80 years old to a 20-year-old. That knowledge is just opaque until you get there yourself.
So it's not that the information is hidden, it's that the meaning itself is inaccessible until our own minds are developed enough to register it.
This just flips our whole idea of secrecy on its head. Suddenly, guarding a secret isn't this selfish act of hoarding knowledge. It can actually be a profound act of care, like a parent protecting a child from concepts that they just aren't emotionally or cognitively ready to handle yet.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Meaning isn't some lost treasure you find after digging in the right spot. It's not an object. It's a practice. It's a way of engaging with the world. It is the active, ongoing cultivation of the able inside your own mind.
And that really leaves us with a final challenge. Let's face it, we live in the world that is incredibly good at being Cain. It is driven by data, by control, by literalism. In a world that's screaming with surface information, maybe depth becomes the ultimate secret. So the question is, how will you practice listening for those deeper patterns? How will you listen for Abel,